In this video, I'm going to explain all the different shot meter settings in NBA 2K22. There's been a few changes made this year for both current and next gen, and that's exactly what I'll be going over in this video. Most of these features are going to be in your controller settings. So while you're in a game, simply bring up the pause menu, scroll over to options, and select controller settings. We're only going to go over the settings that pertain to shooting in this video, so I'm just going to skip over the first two. So the first shooting based setting we have is shot meter, and by default, this is going to be set to on. So every time you shoot the ball, you'll see a shot meter appear next to your player. Now, for those of you that are new, there are multiple parts to this new shot meter. If I zoom in, you can see we have a black area as well as a yellow area inside of this meter. Your job is to let go of the shoot button when the moving part of the meter is inside of this yellow area. If you release it before that yellow area, you'll get a very early release, and if you release it after that yellow area, you'll get a very late release. If you just make it inside of this yellow area, you'll get an early release, and if you barely get it inside of this yellow area on the other end, you'll get a late release. Now, if you release it inside of this yellow area, but right before the black line in the middle, you'll get a slightly early release, and if you release it inside of this yellow window, but just past this black line, you'll get a slightly late release. As you've probably guessed by now, in order to make the shot every time and get an excellent release, you must get this meter to stop exactly at this black line in the middle. Now, if you're able to string together multiple excellent releases in a row, you'll get an additional boost to your shot percentage. While it may take some practice to get used to for newer players, if you play on an easier difficulty or simply use a great shooter like Steph Curry, for example, this will be much easier to achieve. However, shot timing penalties will get more strict the further you are from the basket, so you still want to make sure you're taking good high quality shots. Now, once you get more skilled at the game, you can experiment with turning your shot meter off. With the shot meter turned off, you'll have to rely on the visual cues of your player and release the ball at the peak of their shot. Just like any other year, turning off your shot meter will actually give you a larger bonus for well-timed shots. So if you eventually want to be a knockdown shooter, you should be slowly making your way up to this setting so you can get a boost every time you shoot the ball. It's worth mentioning though that if you run no shot meter while taking free throws, for example, it'll give you a larger margin of error, just like with regular jump shots. So keep that in mind. If you set this to free throw only, the shot meter will only appear when taking free throws and not during regular jump shots. This is a good setting for players who may specifically want the shot meter on during their free throws and nowhere else. Now, there are two ways you can shoot the ball. You can either shoot by holding square on PlayStation or X on Xbox, or by holding the right stick down. So if you set your shot meter to shot button only, the shot meter will only appear when using square or X to shoot, depending on which console you're on. So again, if I hold square to shoot, the shot meter will appear. But if I try to shoot with the right stick now, I will no longer have a shot meter because it's set to shot button only. It's a similar concept for when your shot meter is set to pro stick only. So now if I hold the right stick down to shoot, there's a shot meter that appears. But if I try to shoot with square now, there won't be a shot meter since it's set to pro stick only. So those are all of the different options we have under the shot meter category. Next, we have shot timing. If this is set to shots and layups, all of your jump shots and layups will require you to properly time them in order for them to go in. Pretty straightforward. Now, if this is set to shots only, just like normal, all of your jump shots will require you to properly time them. The only difference is that this does not apply to layups. So as you can see, in order for me to make a jump shot, I have to properly time it. However, I can hold the shoot button for as long as possible on the layup without being penalized. If shot timing is set to shots only, layup success is determined strictly by real player percentage, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now, on the opposite end, if you set shot timing to layups only, you won't have to time your jump shots, but you will have to time your layups. So in this setting, your layups will have to be timed by you, but your jump shot success will be determined by real player percentage. So what is real player percentage? This basically takes your player's attributes as well as the quality of the shot you're taking and uses that as the determining factor of if you're going to make that shot or not. For example, if I try to take a three-point shot with someone like Shaquille O'Neal, who only has a 26 three-point rating, it's going to be almost impossible to make that shot with real player percentage toggled on because his three-point attributes are so low. On the flip side, it's a lot easier to make these shots with someone like Steph Curry since he has a 99 three-point rating. So whether you're taking jump shots or layups, real player percentage will throw shot timing out the window and will determine if you should make the shot based on your attributes and how open you were. Next, we can set our preferred perfect release. By default, this would be set to flame. So every time we get an excellent release, a small flame will appear above our heads. If we set this to ball, a ball icon will appear above our heads instead of a flame. If we set this to none, if shot feedback is turned on, it'll let us know when we got an excellent release, but there won't be any other indications that appear. So if you're someone who doesn't like a ton of distractions while playing, or if you don't want other people to immediately know when you've gotten an excellent release, you can change this setting to none. We also have 35 new sound effects that can be played every time we get an excellent release. You can cycle through each one and see which one you prefer, or you can simply change the setting to none. Although it doesn't necessarily pertain to shooting, I do want to quickly touch on the new player indicator setting that was added this year. This indicator will appear directly under your player and by default is set to circle. Now, if you change this to basketball, you can see that you now have a basketball icon under your player. And if you change it to flame, you can see that you now have a flame icon under your player. We can also choose from 6 different colors for each indicator if you want to customize this even further. The next setting we have is free throw timing. By default, this is set to user timing. So in order to successfully make your free throws, you'll need to time your release right when the ball is about to leave your player's hand. Just like with ordinary jump shots, better free throw shooters have larger timing windows than poor free throw shooters. If you don't want to manually time your free throws, you can set this to real player percentage. So the game will use your player's in-game free throw rating to determine the shot success. Again, just like I mentioned earlier, the better the free throw shooter, the better this setting will work. Now, as far as controller settings, we've pretty much covered everything shooting related, but there are a couple of things you can adjust in your regular settings as well. The first is going to be shot feedback. By default, this is going to be set to user only. This means that every time you shoot the ball, you'll see feedback at the top of your screen. If you aren't seeing shot feedback at the top of the screen when shooting jump shots, make sure a real player percentage is not currently on. If we change shot feedback to free throws only, as you can expect, the shot feedback will only appear at the top when shooting free throws and not ordinary jump shots. If we set this to all shots, you'll be able to see the shot feedback of your shots as well as the shot feedback of your opponents and teammates' shots as well. And then of course, if you don't want any shot feedback to be displayed, you can simply turn this off. Finally, as far as shooting related settings, the last thing we can do is adjust the color of our shot meter. So this is simply going to change the color of that little highlighted area inside of your meter. Now, those were all of the different settings that we can adjust that solely relate to shooting. Hopefully this video was able to help you better understand what each setting does so you can come up with the best configuration for you and your playstyle. If you guys want to see more in-depth beginner tip videos like this, definitely let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, hop into settings and figure out which setup works best for you.